And honestly, this has been going on a little bit off and on this week. I've been debating what I vampire schedule. Um, I've been sitting here and in my mind thinking like I think I watched a lot of TV growing up. I should start off by saying that. Welcome if you just are showing up now to this live broadcast. The 0 people watching, 0 thumbs up, 30 seconds in. Um, so let's back up. Going back in all directions, sleeping the insane hours. I'll never wake up in a good mood again. That's Jim Morrison. I was in my mind thinking about the vampire schedule, and somehow Tom Cruise showed up in my imagination. And I realize why now. Because I listen to the Vampire Lestat when I sleep at night, to be honest with you, and The Queen of the Damned. Those are my sleeping novels, and they work very well. And the narrator, oh my gosh, his voice. I love listening to him. So anyways, Tom Cruise played Lestat years ago. So no wonder he came up in my imagination. So I was trying to figure out my that could be why. Yeah. Because I was like, why is Tom Cruise showing up in relation to this topic so easily and quickly? Okay, so the subject of the vampire schedule, what is it? I decided the vampire schedule is a schedule where you essentially sleep from maybe 10:30 or 11. You can go from 10 or 11. Okay, so one schedule could be 11 to 5 in the afternoon, and the other schedule could be 10 to 4. So you have to think about it depending on who you are, but the sun usually sets 5 and on, so you'd still catch like sunset, right? Or you're waking up. And then the thing is it's the appointments. So if you put it at 11 as your bedtime, then you can get a lot of appointments done in the morning. You can pretty much get all your daytime appointments done if you slammed them early in the morning. And then, so you'd sleep for like 6 hours, maybe even 6.5. All right. And then you'd go back to bed at 1 in the morning to 3 in the morning. You'd take a siesta, you'd eat something, then siesta land. But if you're a vampire, I guess you're gonna go find a guy who thinks he's tough. They're gonna go find a black rooster and drain him. And man, guy who thinks he's tough. I liked some roosters, but a few roosters. It's not that I don't like it. This last rooster, I need to go on a side topic since it's a bizarre story early in the morning. We had a rooster and chickens and a guinea hen nearby. And the rooster was a meat rooster. A crew line of meat roosters. I mean, dingoes were meat dogs at one time, and a couple of them got free, and they've been running free for a long time. So, you know, but he was like overly like he wanted to play with the skinny fowl. Like she would jump out. She wasn't a meat chicken. She was like a bird, like a chicken that had been wild for a while in like Africa. So she was super fancy and gray. They're real pretty, and she would like jump over the fence and like hide in the yuccas, and there was like this circle of them, and she likes to go in the center, and she likes to pop in and out, and you know, be all mysterious and stuff. And he would go out and follow her and like be pecking near wherever she was at, like not like he would want to play with her so bad, and then like he would just lose control, and he would just like start attacking her too much to get her back in. If she like, and I would watch the process was like she'd be out there having fun, and then he'd come nearby and like be trying to like trying to peck in the distance and watch her, but then she'd get this inkling like, you and I can be friends, and then like this like friendly vibe, and then he would like charge her and start attacking her and stuff, and then like, and it wasn't just mating, no, it was like he would just get really like an abusive husband. And I've seen other roosters, meat roosters can do this. You go look it up on the internet. It's because meat roosters are not raising the chickens to have a good life. It's just quick to the farmer. And so they're not really like, so one day I was watching him and I was like, you want to play with her so bad. Like he wants to go pecking around and running off into the desert, but because both of them, of course, want to run free. To where, I don't know, but that's the feeling I get from them. And he's essentially mostly forgotten about the other chickens. He watches them, but like he's, you know, back in the old days, they say, and he definitely had a favorite. And so then one day in my imagination station, I felt like I was talking to the rooster. I've always felt like I can talk to like animals, and like the rooster was like, and the guinea like was like, what do you think of the situation? And I was like, well, in this mood, all I can do is say how I feel right now. I was like, it looks like you want to play with the chicken, but you can't. Something happens. Every time you get near her, you have some sort of urge that takes over. It's not even just the normal, you know, little dominance game a rooster might play here and there, but this is like just because something happened with your ancestors where you now have like, you just like lose your mind now. And I was like, I think you two are a bit like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, you know where I'm going with this, right? And so, lo and behold, and I wouldn't leave the guinea fowl without you. And so the next thing you know, or something like that. And so he, the guinea fowl gets killed. And then the following, like a couple days later, the rooster is killed by like just random events. Like they got out of the fence, a dog ran by, ran off, a dog ran ran off with one of the chickens, and I think the coyotes or something got the rooster, or maybe it was another, the dog may have gotten the rooster and the chicken, one of the dogs in the neighborhood, because they would get out. And so, hey, don't get mad at me. These are not my, I don't own these chickens and roosters. They are in like it's hard to explain. We live in an area where there's like, they're kind of like little off. They're not my chickens, okay? But they're out where I can see them and walk past them and talk to them. And so, but it's right on the edge of the desert. And they're my neighbors. So when the dogs stole the chicken and ran off and killed him, I knew all about it. So, because it happened right behind where I live. The chickens were killed behind my house, but somehow. And so, anyways, not really behind my house, right outside my front door, because it's a long story. And, anyhow, theories on religion. Well, of course, it's the thing that upholds the economy. It's the like set of beliefs necessary from a sociological standpoint to keep the economy going. Always. That's why there's a division of like church and state usually, but Machiavelli breaks it down. He's like, if the church or the minister doesn't like reflect the economic interests of the state or the power in that area, he'll not be a minister in a church for long. And so in sociology class, they say the same thing. Obviously, I say this almost every video, but that the religions over the course of history reflect the whatever the economic kingpin of the area that the religion was developed in, it reflects and supports that, just like Machiavelli said, and it can do no other, or the city and the society wouldn't live there. So like if you live in an area where your economy is, say like you live in the center of a continental ridge plate and like you're a native in Australia living in the center of the outback or whatever. Very few people live to a large area, and your economy is like what it is out there in the middle of the desert, right? And so your religion and your religious beliefs go with the economy of the land that you're living at presently. And so they always support that. And if that changes, the religion changes also. That's why you can see like people start off with the religion in one region, like say in Israel. You take a faction, you take them to Babylon, and now the economics to survive have changed, so the religion will change. And say a group of and what that group that's living under one economic group believes, the other one believes it's going to have subtle differences in belief and tradition and practice. And then if you take another group and you put them in another economic position for a prolonged period, then they're going to have a different set of things. And you see the difference between a Sephardi and an Ashkenazi. You can do the same thing with Christians, and you can also do it over time. So like they teach you this in sociology class, religion always reflects the economy of the region you're living in at that time. So if you're a Christian and you're living in antebellum South and the kingpin of the economy is human trafficking, then your religion, Christian religion at the time, will support human trafficking, and they will interpret the doctrines to say it's okay. But in the antebellum South in the 1980s, you're living in a capitalistic society, and so Christianity will reinterpret the same book. The doctrine will now say it's not okay, because religion always supports the economy of the region that you live in. Okay, so if you know a tree by its fruits, if a church functions in a city and is an integral part, as people say, a successful person, when they walk into the church, the school, or the home, they've walked into the same building, right? So that means it functions in the city, which means the economy is supported by the religion, the job, the church, the home. In Machiavelli, they explain that the prince has ministers, and if the ministers don't support the economic interests of the prince, they won't be ministering for long. The prince is the state, and the minister is the church. So just put it back in there. The church reflects the interest of the economy of the state, or the church won't be churching for long. They'll find another person to head the church. So when economies shift, religions make adjustments. Robert Sapolsky, Dr. Robert Sapolsky has written a book, and I believe I keep getting it mixed up. Is he Stanford or Yale? But he's a hardcore biological determinist, from what I've heard. Rumor on the street is. And he's written a book detailing how people who live in different regions with different economies consistently develop different styles of religion. I bring this up every day, whether it's animism, polytheism, or monotheism. You need a very specific set of conditions for monotheism to develop. You need herding animals. You need something arid, but on the edge of a fault ridge where there's still like water and resources. Because having a panopticon in a person's mind that keeps them in check even when they're not being watched. Okay, look. If you live in the center of a continental ridge plate, there's ancient soil there and there's no herding animals. And you can only have like 15 to 50 people on many, many, many acres of land. %50 of the children die before they bear children. Over and over again. Their religion has to support that. The religion has to support that. And usually people in those regions are animists. It's not beneficial to have people who work like slaves based on a panopticon watching them on a single industrial duty, like in an assembly line, when you're in the center of an outback. So the religion of animism doesn't give a person so much trauma and abuse by leaving a narcissist in charge that they develop an internal panopticon of an abuser who watches over them whether they're good or bad, and sees them when they're sleeping and whether they're awake, to make sure the aqueducts are running and and that the sheep are in the fold, and that the clothes have been knit, and the textiles are out to work, and the perfumers and the bakers are standing in line. And these things happen in a city. So in a city religion, you need to have a religion that supports the economy, which the economy involves watching over people day and night and them not using their own thinking faculties, but rather obeying all the time for the most part. So out in the center of a continental ridge plate, though, you would be dead if that was the case. And so obviously if the creator wanted everybody to be monotheists, then we would all live on the historically, then everybody would live right on a ridge plate in a city with a panopticon in their head. But they don't, do they? They live in places like rainforests where there's polytheism. They live in the center of continental ridge plates. That there's one force or creator behind all of everything. I don't think this is the singularity as what people are debating. It's just that monotheism has to tell its people it's the only thing. Because how could you keep the economy going if you told people that they would be just as well off if they ran off and lived in the middle and let half their kids die and lived, some of them would be happy about that, and lived in the center of a continental ridge plate? And or if you want to go live in the Amazon forest, you can go be a polytheist and go hang in the trees, and you're just as acceptable to the creator no matter what. It wouldn't work, because if you're in a city, you need to keep those workers there. You don't need them to all leave and abandon ship. Like, this is a total lack of order. In fact, probably thousands of years ago, human sacrifice rituals and shit were done just to make sure that people like that were the ones that died, right? So like, if you're in the middle of a continental ridge plate, the babies that probably don't make it to adulthood probably are the ones that can't think for themselves and care about what other people think a lot, and probably think about kings all the time, and then they just die. They just don't make it to full age in the center of the outback or some other place like that. But if you're living in the city, the opposite happens. The other set of kids gets thinned out. But if you think that it's so wrong for people to believe in a different way, then you're accusing your own creator, because he's the one who set them up to live in those areas under those industry. And not only that, how do you know that they don't talk to the same thing but in a different way, and that they don't have a better relationship for not living in the city? The city has to have the propaganda that the religion of the city is the best, because it's known for shooting arrows in the back of people who try to leave, because it just makes them look bad. Tribal people only work 1/3 of the time. They produce more art. They're happier. Their lives are as long. You gotta work on your propaganda, obviously, right? Yeah, okay.